In the name of Amen the Supreme, the All-Powerful, the one and only true Lord, in Amen we trust, as the Republic of Mentellect, the true 144,000 being gathered in this day and time, the Mentalists. Menzeka Aminun to all of my mentalist brothers and sisters out there, registered members of the Republic of Mentellect, and to all future mentalists who have yet to find their way home to the Republic of Mentellect, which is Amen's covenant. I send greetings out to you, and I send peace out to you in our Mentellian language by saying to you, Menzeka Aminun. Good evening, I'm your host, the intellectual Nuben Menkares, and this is Mentellect Radio, and tonight we're going to be discussing what the spiritual realm really is. What is the spiritual realm? The spiritual realm is the physical realm. Simply put, the spiritual realm is the physical realm, the three-dimensional realm. This is the spiritual realm we're in right now, where all spirits inhabit the physical plane, the three-dimensional space. This is the spiritual realm. Don't let these so-called religious people fool you and get you to believe that the spiritual world is some otherworldly space. Because, you know, you hear from the Christians to the Muslims to the Jews, the Israelites, they all with the spiritual world and spiritual heaven and hell and the spirit world and heaven and hell and the spiritual world. That's here on earth. That's on earth. There is no spiritual world. The spiritual world is right here on earth. And this earth has a whole bunch of confused, angry, emotional, evil spirits wandering the earth in water-based form, right? And water-based gastric etheric form. Or I should say water-based form, I should say. You know, a form of vapor, right? A form of water-based energy, light, lesser light, spiritual energy. They inhabit this three-dimensional plane. They do not go to the fourth dimension. They are not linked to the soul. The spiritual realm is right here on earth. The spiritual realm, or the spiritual world, or the spirit world, as the Israelites say, is the world of confusion. They inhabit the earth. They roam the earth. This is what they mean when they talk about your ghost and, you know, your spirits and your ghost and, you know, and your poltergeist and all that. This is the spirit world. How you know it's the spirit world is because what do they always talk about the spirits are at? They always roaming the planet, roaming earth, and they always going into physical people, taking over their bodies, causing confusion, causing chaos. Because these same people, right, when they were here on earth, they caused a lot of chaos and confusion because it was in their spirit to do so. So, of course, they're going to go or stay in a realm in which chaos and confusion reigns and rules. They're going to stay right here. And they're going to move on the earth, right, for all of eternity, infinity, I should say, in the circle. They will continuously move in the circle of infinity, meaning on earth, right, where there's this water-based energy, where they are drawn to it, where they are drawn to take over the physical bodies, possess the physical bodies of people. There's no spiritual world that is beyond the three-dimensional world. The spiritual world is the three-dimensional world. That's why, like I said, you see these people talking, they caught the Holy Ghost, they caught this spirit, they caught that spirit, the so-called Africans and they little African spirituality, always catching spirits or ancestors. If there's a spirit world, why the hell don't the spirits go to the spirit world? Why are they still on earth jumping into people? Ask the so-called Israelites and all of them this question, or the people who believe in the so-called spiritual world. Ask them why they always jumping into physical people. If there's a such thing as a spirit world that's separate from earth, separate from the three-dimensional state, why are these so-called spirits always here? Why are they always taking over the bodies of people? Why are they always haunting houses and doing all kinds of things? Why don't they go to the spirit world and leave? Why are they always looking to take over a physical entity? Right? Why are they always doing that? Because this is their world. This is their realm. This is their world. The physical realm is also the double side of the spirit realm. Right? The physical realm and the spirit realm is heaven and hell. That's heaven and hell. Right? That is really heaven and hell. Hell would represent the earth. Heaven to them would represent the spiritual realm, where they would no longer be locked into one physical body, and they could roam and jump into many jump into many physical bodies, or stay in that realm in that state of light, of water energy, right? As ghosts or spirits, like they say, and they could just move about to jump in anybody freely. That's heaven to them. They're not locked into one body. They can jump into one body and possess one body and jump out, and jump into another body and possess another body and jump out, and jump into another body and possess another body and jump out. This is the spiritual realm. And why it is a heaven to them is because they can jump into different bodies, and they can inhabit different bodies. This is a heaven to them. The physical world is heaven, spiritual entity. The physical world is heaven to the spiritual entity, because they can't wait to jump inside physically and inhabit the bodies of physical beings. Again, like I said, all these people always talk about the spirit world, like the Israelites of the spirit. Where's the spirit world at? Where exactly is it at? Somebody tell me, where exactly is the spirit world? Right? Where is it at? Because everything they describe as they heaven and all the things that the Most High, they God, which is not the Most High, is not the Creator. Their God, which I'm going to explain Wednesday, or shall I say Friday, who their God really is. I'm going to try to hold back on that without giving it away. But these people in this three-dimensional state, they never leave that state because they don't understand anything beyond that. So what makes you think that they're going to move to a higher state of existence, a higher state of life? What makes you think they're going to do that? Go to this so-called spirit world. What makes you think they're going to ascend anything other than the three-dimensional state? Because they don't even understand it. They don't understand anything beyond the three-dimensional state. In order for you to ascend the three-dimensional state, you have to be a living soul, not a spirit. You have to be a living soul. And in order to be a living soul, you have to be a thinking and a receiving transmission of Amen, of the Most High. You have to acknowledge that there is a creator. And as I said before, these people who follow these religions and the average people or the person, they don't believe in a creator. They don't acknowledge that a creator exists. They believe in God. That's totally different. They believe in God. They don't acknowledge the creator. They don't acknowledge the creator. They believe in a God, just like they believe in a devil, who is really the same thing. But we'll talk about that. I'm not going to get into it. I'm going to break all that down on Friday. These so-called religious people and whatnot. These regular, everyday people. You understand that? They want to go to the light. When they talk about dying, they talk about going to the light. What is the light? The light is the spirit. This spiritual realm, which is another form of earth. Right? The enlightened earth. Because aren't these people always talking about enlightenment? Enlightenment, enlightenment. If you can experience enlightenment or understand enlightenment in a physical form, then that means that you are inhabited by a spirit which is already in your house, already in your space of inheritance. Once you understand the light or enlightenment, you are in the highest point of spirituality. And the highest point of spirituality is on earth. The highest point of spirituality is on earth. Because again, I'm going to ask these people, where is the spirit world at? I hope the Israelites call in. I hope they come on to whatever. Tell me where the spirit world, because you guys always talk about the spirit world. This person in the spirit world. They're in the spirit world. Yeah, the spirit world is earth. The spirit world is earth. You understand that? Because like I said, if there was a true spirit world, you wouldn't know what a spirit was. They would have moved on. They would have moved on to their real world or their real realm where they're supposed to go to. They would have moved on. You wouldn't even know what that is. But y'all always talking about, oh, the spirit jumped on me, the spirit jumped into me to say this, the spirit jumped into me to say, or the Holy Ghost got me, the spirit got me, the spirit this and the spirit that. That means the spirits are here. If you feel yourself being inhabited by a spirit, then that means the spirits are here on earth. And they looking to cause mischief and chaos and confusion like they did when they was in physical form. They just now doing it in spiritual form, and why it's different to them is because they have multiple bodies to jump into. They don't have any limitations. They ain't got to worry about getting old. They ain't got to worry about getting sick. They ain't got to worry about getting their bodies breaking down, because they can always jump into young bodies. They can jump into children's bodies. They can jump into adult bodies. like they do. You understand? They can jump into animals. They can jump into anything. And they do that. They do that in the spirit realm, which, like I said, is an open, the earth, the physical realm is an open place for them. They can come into physical form. They can take on and house the bodies of physical beings. That's why it is heaven for them. Spirit realm, heaven to them is the ability to house physical entities or physical vessels. That's heaven to them. That is heaven. When you are able to ascend beyond the three-dimensional realm, again, that is the solar state. This is why the white man and all these other people and these really, they don't talk about the soul or the solar state. They notice they stop talking about that. They stop talking about the soul. They don't talk about the soul world or the solar world. And yet we in a solar system. We in a solar system, yet they ain't talking about the solar world. But Nuben Menkarre is going to talk about it, goddammit. He's going to talk about it. Because the solar world or the solar realm is real. The solar realm exists in the higher dimensions, the upper dimensions. You understand? 4 and up. That's the solar realm. That's the soul realm. The higher dimensions, outer dimensional, continuous. That's the solar world or the solar realms. Everything in the 1 to 3, that's the spiritual realm. So when I say we have to be, when I said on my Facebook page, I said we have to become souls that ascend the spiritual realm. That means ascend the physical and spiritual realm of 3 dimensions. That's what that meant. We are souls moving around in a spiritual state. We are souls moving around in a spiritually possessed state. That's what that means. We are living souls walking around in a spiritual state of limitations, of chaos and confusion. That's what we are. Those who are of the elect. Those who have souls. You understand that? We are souls walking around in a spiritual realm. But that's what the elect are. That's what the elect truly are. Amen is. Amen is a living soul. The Amen beings are living souls. Living souls. We moving in a spiritual state. A 3-dimensional spiritual state of limitations. But the ignition and the connection with Amen is going to move us to the 4th dimensional state, which is the solar realm. That is the solar realm. That's where we're supposed to be moving at. I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. When Superman came to Earth, he represented a solar being who was in this 4th dimensional state. He represented a spiritual being in a 4th dimensional state. That's why he had all that power. That's why he was able to draw energy from the sun. Notice he drew energy from 3 suns from his planet, but he took all the energy, the majority, all the energy he sucked out of this sun. So, because he was a solar being or a 4th dimensional being. He wasn't 3-dimensional. He wasn't of the spirit realm like the humans. He was of the solar realm. That's why he has solar power. That's what the Amen beings are, and that's what the elect are going to become. And we're going to be moving side by side in the spiritual realm with the coming back and forth as solar beings with that kind of power. That's solar power, not spiritual power. Like you Israelites say, oh, when we get our spiritual power, there is no spiritual power. The only spiritual power is the power to inherit physical bodies within the 3-dimensional realm. That's spiritual power, or what you call that, which is not really a power at all. It's more of a possession. It's more of a possession, which is really 2-dimensional. It's more of a possession. You understand that? That's a possession. That's not a power. That's not 4th dimensional. That's 2-dimensional. The ability to take over somebody's body as a living entity and inhabit it, that's a possession power. Or should I say a possession, not a power. That's the only ability that the spiritual being has. They can't move up in the upper dimensions. They can't move to the 4th dimension. They can only stay in the 3. And that's one of the reasons why they're angry. That's one of the reasons why they say those vexed spirits, or those vexed ghosts, or spirits, they vexed and they jump in people's body and do all kind of stuff and want all kind of stuff because they angry they can't leave. They angry they can't leave. They have to constantly come into other beings. They have to come into other living entities. They have to constantly house the body of living entities. You understand that? They have to constantly house the bodies of other people. They can't raise to that soulless state, because the only way to raise to the higher dimensions, the upper dimensions, the only way to do that is to be a solar being, and they're blocked from the fourth dimension. Spiritual entities or spiritual beings are blocked from the fourth dimension, which is reserved for the solar beings. They're blocked. They're blocked. They're blocked. They can't move past three. You understand that? This is the spiritual realm, or the spiritual world of confusion and chaos. You understand that? Because if, again, so-called, when you leave the physical body, that's going to determine whether you are a soul or spirit, how far you travel. How far you travel and the extent to which you travel and how far you continue to go, that's going to determine whether you are a solar being or whether you are a spiritual being. That's going to determine that. If you coming forward in a higher state of yourself, because each time, if you were really a solar being, you're coming back in some form of prominence, and you're making an impression in the world, and then you constantly coming back, making that same impression. That means you're moving in higher states and higher dimensions. That means you are a solar being. But if you come back, because you got those of the solar beings who come forward, meaning they are building themselves with each dimension they come forward into. You understand? When they come into a state of physical, they come into a physical state of appearance, they're constantly moving forward onto a higher level. But when you're a spirit being, you coming back. They don't come forward, they're coming back into a physical form, and they're taking on physical bodies. Physical bodies that they attach themselves to. They take on physical bodies that they attach themselves to. 9 times out of 10, they're never reborn. In fact, they're not reborn. I'm going to say not 9 times. They're not reborn. They just inhabit somebody else's vessel. They just inhabit somebody else's vessel on earth. They don't come back through mothers and fathers. They just take on somebody's vessel. They jump in somebody's body, and they jump from body to body to body for that purpose. As recycled energy, they jump into that body. And sometimes they'll stay in that body. Sometimes they'll stay there. Sometimes they'll stay for a little while and then jump to somebody else. Your spirit beings tend to be malevolent. They tend to be malevolent, not benevolent. And even sometimes the malevolent and benevolent, you know what I'm saying, if the ones who come back are benevolent, sometimes they'll take on other forms and whatnot, and they'll help people within the three-dimensional realm. But more oftentimes they tend to be malevolent, because they're vexed over the fact that they can't leave the three-dimensional realm. They can't leave the spirit realm. They want to go to the solar realm, but they're blocked. See, because the solar realm, you can receive, or as I say, you can be reborn or regenerated. You can be regenerated. You get your own vessel. You get to start brand new. See, when you are a spirit being, you don't get a new vessel. You got to take a vessel. You got to take a body. That's why you got so many vexed people on this planet, because they got all kind of negative spirit energies in them that are vexed because they couldn't be reborn again or regenerated again. They have to jump into somebody else's body, take over somebody else's physical form. This is the realm of spirituality. Why you think so many people talking about spirituality so much? The realm of reincarnation. What is reincarnation? Reincarnation is simply people who are incarnating over and over again into somebody else's physical body. They're not being reborn. They're jumping into somebody's physical body and taking them over. That's reincarnation. That's why you so-called East Indians who coined that word reincarnation, they say, you could come back as a cow, you can come back as a goat, you can come back as a person, you can come back as a bird, you can come back as an ant, you can come back as anything, because it's not that they're physically being born there, it's that their spirit is taking over the bodies of anything, an animal, a person, anything. Their spirit will jump into anything. That's reincarnation. They're being incarnated into something else, into a physical form of something else. They're not being reborn or regenerated. You understand? They're not being regenerated. They're being reintroduced into the physical form of somebody else. Their spirit energy, that water-based energy, that light energy, not the embrightened energy, but the light energy is being reintroduced into another physical body. It is roaming the earth, waiting to take hold of a physical body. That's what that means. The ones who are the souls, they are an embrightened mental force. They are the ones who go into the solar light or that projection to get recharged, and then they are sent or regenerated or reborn again. They start in a brand new body. See, that's what the spirit beings want. They want a brand new body, but they don't get brand new bodies. They have to go into other people's bodies. They have to break into other people's bodies. They have to take on other people's vessels. They don't get to start as children and grow up and experience it. They have to take over other people's bodies. You understand that? That's how that works. They're constantly caught in this circle because they were caught up in this three-dimensional state. They were caught up in the three-dimensional state. So they just recycled or circled back into the earth when they pass on. They recycle or recircle back into the earth when they pass on. And thus, when you are a soul being, you are constantly coming forward. You start a whole regenerated life. You regenerate. You understand that? You regenerate. Certain entities can't be regenerated. They can be reincarnated. Like I said, that energy is going to stay here. And a planet that is based in what? Water. Spirit is what? What did I tell you? Spirit is water. Soul is fire. Does not heat make things rise? So if heat makes things rise, that means you're going to rise to higher dimensions. You're going to rise by way of the soul to higher dimensions. But if you are a spirit being, you're going to be drawn down to the three-dimensional state as a gravitational pull, as part of that gravitational pull. But if you're part of the soul state, you're going to be part of that levitational lift. You understand that? You're going to be part of that levitational lift. Again, don't let these people tell you, oh, the spirit this and the spirit world, this and the spirit world that. Because they want to make it seem like it's special. They don't really want you to know what it is. They don't really want you to know what it is because they are so spiritual. They are in tune, as they say, with the earth. Because what that really means is that they are caught up in the three-dimensional state. That's what they mean when they mean they're in tune with the earth. They can't see past earth. They can't see past the three-dimensional state. They can't see past that. And most of these people who are caught up in these religions, these people who are caught up in these religions and these forms of culture, these African things, all this stuff like that they into, the Wicca, the witchcraft and all this other stuff, these are spiritual people. They are spirits. They are not souls. They are spirits. They are locked into the three-dimensional state. They will constantly be brought back into the three-dimensional form, and they will be locked here as wandering spirits. They will be locked here as wandering spirits, and they will be open to take over physical bodies. This is why the white man, he pushes a lot of this Wiccan witchcraft religion and push this religion in period because it is meant to be open, make people open vessels for these spirits. It is meant to make them open vessels for the spirits. You understand that? That's what it's meant to do. The people in the light, the people who are trapped in the light, never going to see the brightness, but they're trapped in the light. They can come back and forth between light and dark, light and dark, light and dark. You understand? The dark represents the dark matter or the dark or the physical space that they're going to take when they take over those people's bodies, when they jump into that dark matter, that dark form. And when they jump back out, they jump back out as a light energy. They jump right back out as a light energy, as a spirit. And then they'll jump into somebody else. That's why you see all these shows you're seeing now where on these what is it, on the ghost, what they call it, ghost channel, whatever they call it, where they always talk about ghost possessions and stuff like that, and they say they see these spirits and these light beings and these spirits, and they in the house and they jumping into people and possessing people. That's real. They telling you the truth. That's real. And then when it, you got to go through an exorcism to get them out supposedly, and then they go to somebody else. But this with these religions are really set up to make the people who are following the religions open vessels for the spiritual beings, for these spiritual entities to come in and take hold of their body. That's what it's really for. The Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost. She got the Holy Ghost on her. Really? That ghost is holy? Or is it a spirit energy that is taking her body? People who've passed on a long time ago, on moving and hovering above the earth, in the earth, and whatnot, their spirits are still here. And they're taking on physical form. That's why you see these people here, they do all kinds of demonic things and whatnot. That's why they do all kinds of demonic things. Child molesting, homosexuality, lesbians, all that's them demonic spirits in here, these demonic entities here. That's why I said a long time ago, if you notice, when you see a lot of these young black men here in the hoods of America, right? I said they want to be gangsters. Notice this, right? They want to be gangsters. They want to be thugs. They're forming gangs and all this other stuff, right? But who lived in the neighborhoods before them? Italians, Jews, Irish, the ones who started these first gangs, right? And these guys died in the neighborhood and whatnot, but they were so drawn to this neighborhood that black people are now in. What happens? Those so-called black men want to be thugs and gangsters. They become open vessels for those Caucasian spirits who then take over their body. Next thing you know, you hear black guys talking about they Italians, they black Italians, because that's the spirit that's taking over their body. Those three-dimensional Caucasian spirits, those evil spirits have taken over their body. That's why they kill each other like it ain't nothing. They want to be gangsters. They want to be thugs. They take on the spiritual energy of those Italians, those mob people that died, those Irish, those Jews who was gangsters. They take over their body. That's why they talking about they Dutch Schultz. Black men were talking about he Dutch Schultz, or he Lucky Luciano, or he Maya Lansky, a bunch of gangsters, white gangsters. Because the spirit of those white gangsters are taking over those black vessels. That's real. Or you see the so-called black woman again, like I said, she walk around, she wearing a blonde wig on her head and whatnot. She want to be Marilyn Monroe, or she want to be Jane Mansfield, a bunch of white women who passed on because the spirit of those white women are taking over their bodies. They made themselves open vessels because of the adoration, because they adore and worship and look up to these people and put them on pedestals. So what happens? Those spirits come through them and take over their bodies. See, because when these people die, they don't go anywhere. They stay right here in the spirit realm on earth, hovering above physical bodies, waiting to take over somebody's body. That's what they do. They stay here looking to take over somebody's body, looking to live that physical life again, looking to have sex again, looking to kill again, looking to do all the things they did when they was here, looking to rape again. And then once they do it and they get in that person's body, when that person come to get arrested, that person come to get killed, or when something about to happen to that physical body, they jump right out of it. And then once they jump out that body gets killed. And then they looking for somebody else to jump into. That's real. That's very real. That's very real. So you have to be careful. You must be mindful of who you around. The type of energies. You can see it in a lot of these people's eyes. You could tell that they spiritually possessed. That's why I say be careful of these people who are caught up in the three-dimensional realm of people, place, and possession. Be careful of these people. A lot of these Negroes that's walking around here today, they got the spirit of slaves in them, man. They got the spirit of slaves. A lot of them still want to belong to the white man. They a bunch of walking 2018 slaves, man. They got the spirit of slaves in them. You understand that? Because they made themselves open vessels to that energy. You understand? They want to still be open vessels to slaves. That's the mindset of these people. Spiritual possession is very real. Spiritual possession is very real. I'm going to say it again. Spiritual possession is very real, and the spirit world is real, but you got to realize what the real spiritual world is. It's here on earth. It's not above the earth. It's on earth. You understand? As light, that's the light energy that inhabits this planet. It's spiritual energy. That is the light energy that inhabits this planet. That's why I said you have to be mindful. You have to be very mindful of who you around, who you laying down with, who you having babies with. You got to be mindful. I'm going to say this again for all you women out there and you men out there. You got to be mindful of who you mixing your seed with, who you laying down with. You understand that? Who you friends with, who your so-called friends are. Because it'll be your so-called friends. One minute you'll be thinking, oh, man, those are my boys, those are my people, or that's my girls. Those are the same people that set you up to get killed. They'll set you up to get killed. Why? Because that spirit that done took over their body for some reason don't like you. That spirit that took over their body don't like you. If they see something in you. You understand that? They see something in you. That jealousy, that envy, that hate, that opens them up for spiritual possession. That opens people up for that. And you got a lot of people that move off of jealousy, envy. You understand? Emotions. They move off of emotion. Jealousy, envy, hate. They move off of that. And once you move off of that energy, once you open yourself to that energy, you become possessed by that. Somebody will jump inside of your body. You'll be arguing with your friend, and y'all be arguing about something stupid. It could be a damn baseball game, a basketball game, something, a piece of damn chicken at a barbecue, something. Next thing you know, that spirit energy jumping him. He pick up a damn steak knife and stab you in your chest and kill you. That spirit jumping him to do that. Opened himself up with that energy. You understand that? They open themselves up to that. That happens all the time. You get so possessed over a woman, you get mad because she found she messing with somebody else, or she don't want to be with you no more. Next thing you know, you kill her, you choke her, something jump in you to do that, because you in that emotional state. You looking at her as a possession. You looking at her as a possession, because 9 times out of 10 you did something that you used some kind of possession to buy her. You use money, jewelry, whatever. You use some kind of possession to buy her, so they'll fear, being that she was attracted by the possession, she was open for possession. I'm going to say it again. Being that she was attracted by possessions, material, she was open to be possessed, taken control of as a vessel by somebody else, by another energy. You understand that? And next thing you know, she laying in bed with somebody else. You go crazy, and you figure she was your possession because you used the possession to get her, but you didn't know she was possessed. Next thing you know, you get possessed. Next thing you know, you killing her. You understand? I heard the Israelites say, and a lot of these so-called religious people, the Jews, all of them believe that the Israelites, the people in religion, they believe that a woman or a female is a man's possession. They believe that a woman is a man's possession, that she's property. They believe that a woman is property. Ask the Israelites, the Jews, the white Jews, the black Israelites, the Christians, the Muslims. They all believe that a woman is a man's property or possession. Possession. Possession, possessed. That means they're possessed. They are emotionally attached to that woman. Anytime you start saying she's your property, she is not your property. You did not create her. She is not your property. You don't own anything. Not even yourself. How the hell are you going to talk about you own somebody? But that's possession. That is spiritual possession, demonic possession. To start thinking you own people. And once you do that, then that means you're going to get possessed. And somebody's going to own your ass. Somebody's going to own you. Somebody's going to possess you. That's going to lock you into that state. It's heavy. That spiritual state of emotion, possession, is heavy on this planet. It's heavy. Be careful, of who you lay down with, who you have children with. The people who are impressed by possessions, they're two-dimensional. And it is easy to inhabit the body of a two-dimensional, inhabit the body of two-dimensional people. People who are caught up in possessions. The ones who I gotta have that handbag, I gotta have that car, I live to have that leather coat, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having nice things, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that. But you got people who are just possessed by that to where they become possessions. Until, like I said in class yesterday, next thing you know, they selling themselves for possessions. They'll go out there to Hollywood like certain people and sell their ass for money, for material. So that means if you were okay with trading your physical body for possessions, for material, then that means you are the same as that possession. You are possession. You're not even people. You're a possession. And if you are a possession, you are able to get inhabited by spiritual entities because you're nothing but a vessel. You're not a living soul. You're an open vessel. That's all you are. You are fit for possession because you sold yourself for possession. You'll do anything for money. The majority of you so-called black people, white people, the world, they'll do anything for money. You are a possession. And you are able to be possessed. So therefore, if you are able to be possessed, that means because you're trapped within the spiritual world. You just on the physical side of the spiritual world. Because on one side there's the physical side, and then on the other side there's the spiritual side. You on the physical side of the spiritual world. But when a lot of you pass on, you just gonna go on the spiritual side. And you could jump back and forth between the spirit and the spiritual world and the physical world. But those who are of the soul, we're gonna jump over everybody and up and beyond. Above the spirit and above the physical. Let me take a call. 901.
Menzak, Mizzle. It's interview with Justin Z.
Menzak.
Yeah, you definitely hitting the nail on the hammer tonight. I do have a question before I go into detail. I had a little story that I wanted to tell you. But as far as those who are spiritual and those who are three-dimensional, can they see or notice those who are spiritual and three-dimensional like themselves? You know,
yes,
beyond the physical realm. You know, okay, so that makes sense. That's why I asked it, because back in like 2014 to 15, I lived in Memphis, Tennessee, and it was this so-called black lady. You know, she was young. She was about my age, and she claimed that she had got to arguing with her mom and whatnot. So her mom ended up like calling the police on her and all of that. And I'm basically telling you what she told me. I wasn't really there, but she was saying that when she got picked up by the so-called police, they didn't really take her to jail. They took her to like a crazy house. You know what I'm saying? And she said that they tried to pretty much like do away with her identity. Now at this time, I'm thinking she just crazy. But the fact that you pretty much expressing and breaking down things that you're breaking down, she may have been telling some type of truth, because when she came back, she was acting like different, like totally different from before she ever left or got picked up, which is what I'm really saying, is she was acting possessed. You see what I'm saying? And she was pretty much bugged out, blonde hair in her head. She was just pretty much acting possessed. And the reason I asked you, could they see each other, is because when she came back, she used to like write things down. And one of the main things she said was she could see so-called demons. You know, you consider that spiritual too, right? Demons, because they pretty much do what you're saying they do, which is something people's physical bodies and jump out of them and look for a next vessel and whatnot. So she said she could see demons, and I asked her, you know, like, who was the demon in the house? Because I live with my cousin, and it was me, him, his son, and his uncle. We called him Uncle Tim. And Uncle Tim was very three-dimensional, sneaky, conniving. He like 50 years old. You know, he was, you know, messing with younger girls. He pretty much looking to do everything that you said they do. And this girl was saying that he was the demon out of everybody that was in the house. She could, like, really see him physically. She could see him beyond his vessel. And I guess another question I want to ask you is, if they could see the spiritual, can they notice the solar? Or is that beyond their sight?
They can notice it. They're not going to be able to make it out, but they notice it, because 9 times out of 10, when you see a let's just say, for example, you see a girl you want to talk to, but she repels from you. She don't want to talk to you, and but she'll talk to the worst type of dude, but she don't want to talk to you, and you might be attracted to her physically. That's really because 9 times out of 10, she might see a soul in you, but she's attracted to spirits. She's attracted to a
Mhm.
spiritual being because she see the soul in you, because the soul in you represents law and order. The spirit that she's looking for is chaos and confusion. That's why these girls end up with the thug, the nigga, and the killer, the lesbian, or the guys that
Mhm.
they homosexual, because all that spiritual energy right there. That's nothing but chaos and confusion. Homosexuals, lesbians, thugs, all that's a bunch of chaos and confusion, and they are attracted to
Mhm.
that. You see, as a soul
Mhm.
being or a solar being, you represent law and order, which is uh, uh, which will crush chaos and confusion. So they don't want you around. They want to stay within
Mhm.
that spiritual realm of chaos and confusion
Mhm. That's
and that
clear.
demonic
The
and that
reason I
demonic
asked is because
energy.
she was she about like right after she told me that Uncle Tim was so called a demon. You know, she was looking me in my eyes, and she was saying there was something about your eyes. Now I don't know, cause people say eyes is the window to the soul and whatnot. I don't really know how true that is. I know it was a saying though, and she was pretty accurate with Uncle Tim being demonic or being a demon. So I never really got an elaboration on what she meant by it. It was something about my eyes, and she started telling me certain things. And spiritual people they could see. I'm pretty sure they could see on a 3-dimensional level, which I knew nothing about at this time until you start breaking everything down. So that's why I asked you, could spiritual people actually recognize those with souls? And the way you just broke down how they were repelled, that's pretty much what the case was. Not only do they not be attracted to you, they really don't like to be in your presence when you're
No,
solar.
nope.
It makes them real uncomfortable.
Yeah, because again, you represent when you are a soul being, you represent thought or thinking or astuteness or and law and order, and they know you can see them. They don't want you to look directly. They know you can see them. They know you're looking
Mhm.
at them and you're reading them and whatnot, and they read your energy and they don't like that. They want to be around other spiritual beings like them who are demonic, you understand, who are demented, who are confused and have all these multiple personalities, because multiple personalities is only different spirits jumping in and out of these people's bodies. That's why one minute they this
Mhm.
way, next minute they that way. They all over the place. They double minded. They got different spirit energies jumping in and out of them.
Mhm. That's clearly understandable though. I wanted to make a comment on the TV show. I don't know if you knew about it. I heard you refer to TV shows. Have you ever seen Supernatural, the TV show?
No, I
Or
never
have
watched
you
that.
ever heard of it? It's pretty much about
I heard of it.
God,
Yeah.
the devil, angels, demons, and they pretty much doing every single thing that you done mentioned tonight. But it's spiritual. They try to kind of they confuse you. Everything they put out is about chaos and confusion. They don't really want you to put it all together, but it's very 3-dimensional because they use spirits to jump in so-called vessels, and they also use black smoke to represent the demons. But they both do what you're saying they do, which is jump in the vessels and pretty much jump out of them when they through with the vessel for whatever reason. And
Mhm.
they got like parts of the show where vessels go to like purgatory and whatnot, and you could tell it's all 3-dimensional because it looks earthly. If you understand what I'm saying, it's
Yeah.
nothing solar about it.
No.
It's always
No.
landmass. It's always land. You know what I'm saying?
That,
So
that's
you
how
could
you
tell this
know.
is what the spiritual realm is. Is what I'm saying.
That's how you know. I mean, not to cut you. That's how you know that the religious people they really are trapped in the 3 dimensional. That they believe in God, which is a man, which is really. I don't want to get into. I'm not gonna go all the way to it. But let's just say their God is Lucifer. All the people in religion, their God is Lucifer. Their God is Satan or Lucifer or a man. Their God is the devil because or Lucifer because
Mhm.
again, Lucifer is the light bearer. The light bearer is man, who is represented by the Caucasian man today. And again, he is the holder over the spiritual. He is the put in charge over the spiritual realm, which is Earth. That's why you notice everything they
Mhm.
ask for, everything the so-called religious people ask for is physical things. And even in their so-called spiritual state, when they say they God gonna give them this and everything is physical stuff. God gonna come back and give us gold and jewelry and fine women like the Israelites and the Muslims say we're gonna get women in heaven, we're gonna get all this. No, they always say physical things. There's never anything beyond that because that's a sign that they are spiritual and they just want the spiritual side of the physical stuff. They want the lighter side of the physical possessions because they're possessed by that.
Mhm. That's a for sure way that you can tell they spiritual too. You're right, because for one who doesn't strive for power, as you put it, you know what I'm saying, and as we know as the elect, that's one way for you to tell that a person is spiritual in three dimensions. The ones who go after, possessions and whatnot, the two dimensional as well, not just three. But that's one way you could tell if they're real materialistic, you know, and they don't ask for nothing beyond it.
No.
I was in the barbershop one time. I ain't gonna hold you, but I was in the barbershop one time, and this is really why I had to humble myself as far as who we are and what we know, because people so three dimensional they really can't think beyond. So I was in the barbershop, and I was pretty much just trying to open people's minds as far as beyond the three dimensional. And I was telling them, well, I ain't gonna go into what I was telling them, but they was being three dimensional by really being materialistic, saying that the reason that they are, I guess, financially stable, I put it that way, is because they believe in Jesus. And I'm like, you really think Jesus is the reason that you? Because I'm telling them what you basically saying. All the things that y'all long for and wish for, hope, pray, and beg for, it's things you can go out and get on your own. So that's how you know you really depending on the white man. And their case was basically saying that because they believe in Jesus Christ, this is the things that they get, and because they, I guess, obedient and things of that nature. I'm like, so if a person like Donald Trump got all these riches, you think God did that? And
You think
they
he?
stumble because
Well. Let's put it this way: you got the white man and these people who don't believe in no God, and they got all this money and whatnot, and they're the ones who giving them their money. So how are they going to talk about Jesus?
Yeah, I mean that's
Because
my whole
in
point.
their mind, I'm gonna tell you what Jesus represents. Jesus is the white man. Okay, that's just a Puritan form of the white man. When they say Jesus, they really mean the white man because they don't even know what Jesus is. So they so used to looking to that image of white Jesus, so they're really saying the white man, because they believe in the white man. And they're obedient to his image and to his spiritual energy and spiritual power. That's why they get what they get. That's really what that translates into. Don't believe none of that crap about no Jesus because they don't even know what that is. All they associate Jesus with is some white man and whatnot with long hair and a beard, which they also associate the white man in their job with, the Caucasian who employs them, who gives them their money, who's nice to them. And they're saying they're obedient to that image. That's what that means.
It really sounds like slaves, to be honest with you. I never get
They
caught
are
up
slaves,
in
brother. They are slaves.
I just listen.
They are. They are
Yeah,
slaves.
they
They're
really
possessions,
are.
brother.
I
They're not
can't argue
people.
with that. They
Listen.
really are.
Blacks are not people. They're possessions still. That's why they will sell themselves for possession. That's why they say, "Oh, we obedient and look what we get." They figure by being obedient and giving themselves over by way of worship that the equivalent to that is they're going to receive possessions. Now, if you do all these things for possessions, that means you are a possession, and a possession can be possessed. Get it?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, that's clear.
That's why the Israelites are talking about, the spirit jumped into me. The spirit jumped into me. What you really saying when they saying the spirit jumped into them is they possessed.
Mhm.
They possessed by spirits. That's what they saying. The spirit jumped on me.
And I hear that all the time, man. You
They
gonna hear
always
it in
say
the
that the
spiritual
spirit
realm.
jumped on me. The Holy Ghost jumped in me. You understand? The African, my ancestors, if they jumped up in me, and that's why they playing the drums and all. They possessions, brother. When you could jump into people in and out, when they open themselves up as vessels to be jumped in and out of because they want possessions and things like that, they open up. It's the same way a woman opens her body up to be ran up in by a man who gives her possessions. She is allowing her body to be used as an entryway for a man to have sexual encounters with her for money, for possession, because she is a possession to be possessed. That is the same woman who will open her body up for a spiritual and demonic possession. It's no different.
It's understandable. Well, actually, I definitely understand, Ms. Or. I just wanted to make them comments.
All right. Menzak, brother.
Menzak.
Let me take another call. All right. 414. 414, you're there.
Peace and greeting, Brother Nuben. How you doing?
Peace.
Peace. So I have a question in regards to children being possessed, because I actually had a personal experience with my niece a few years ago when the so-called holiday of Halloween came around. Her mother and her father allow her to celebrate that, and she went out and had like the little trick or treating things they do or whatnot. And every time my niece gets sick, like get a cold or some sort, they always send her to me. And at the time, she was 3 years old, and she came to my place. Her mom dropped her off. She didn't go to school because all the children had got sick in Wisconsin the day after Halloween. They were all sick, like with like flu, like sick symptoms. And I'm trying to explain to her mom and to my sister that like different spirits had jumped into the children because my niece was just like a totally different child. And me and my sisters, we are very like solar beings, so we did some things to like command that spirit out of her, and that spirit was like talking back to us, saying that it didn't want to go. It was just really a really weird experience that I had never experienced before. But my question being, how do you prevent children from being possessed or protect them from the different spirits or entities or whatever roaming the earth that want to overtake a child's body?
You need to take them out of these schools, number one, because the schools
Mhm.
are big meeting points for spiritual and demonic possession. Because the ones who are teaching your children are 9 times out of 10 demonically possessed. A lot of these people in these schools teaching your children that it's okay to be homosexuals and lesbians. There's ain't nothing wrong with that, or trannies and whatnot. These people are demonically and spiritually possessed. Same, like I said,
Yeah.
the children shouldn't be celebrating no damn Halloween, because that
Right.
Halloween, that's the biggest. That's like a espis or a holy day for spiritual and demonic possession, because you dressing up
Yeah.
like goblins and ghouls and things like that. So you opening
Mhm.
yourself up. You
Right.
know, a lot of things you're opening yourself up for. And these holidays, so-called holidays that the beast puts out, these are not. These are not meant to be nothing but days for spiritual possession. You have to be
Yeah,
mindful
she
of who
definitely
your
was
children
possessed.
are around. That you're not having
Mhm.
no children sleeping over your house and whatnot, having sleepovers with you, because you don't know what that child your children are associating with done, whether they've been molested and whatnot. And they got them spiritual demons on them. Next thing you know, your children doing all
Mhm.
kinds of homosexuality and things. They being put on to things like this. You have to be mindful always and constantly be watching your children. That's something black people don't want to do.
Right.
They trust their children too much to other people, to the white man school system, and they
Mhm.
turn
I
around and
agree.
they trust their children, and they don't. This is what they do.
You're right. I definitely agree with you. So, what is like? So, what if you take your children out with you? Like I have one daughter. She's 1 years old. So I'm fairly a new mom, and I take her like to the grocery store with me. We don't do like much outside of the home. Like we do everything in the home. It's just really me and her. But like, what if like I take her to the store with me, to the grocery store, or like, what about in those environments outside of the home? Like, how do you know,
You have to be
really?
constant. You have to be mindful. You know what I'm saying? It starts with everything. You have to be
Mhm.
mindful about who you choose to be their father, what entities is in
Mhm.
him. You know what I'm saying? What you got to be constantly mindful of these things and whatnot. If you are around certain family members and whatnot, like I said, a lot of times that demonic possession comes by way of family members and whatnot. So you leaving them with certain family members. Next thing you know, your daughter get touched by somebody and whatnot who demonically possessed or
Mhm.
molested or anything happens like that. So you have to be constantly mindful of that. You got to keep them from in the early ages and stages of their life, keep them from being around so many different people and whatnot, because so many of these people are
Mhm.
demonically possessed.
Right. Okay, brother. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mhm. Welcome.
Okay.
All right. 704 for our next call. 704. 704. 704. Going once, going twice.
Hello?
Yes, 704.
You hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, how you doing, nigga? This is my first time calling in. I was just calling
Okay.
about I knew last week you was talking about the age of the earth. And I basically broke down a mentalization calculation. Basically out of the 9 cycles, out of the calculation, and I figured out the exact year that Earth would be today, starting of the present year, which would be 2018. And I wanted to share that information tonight if it's okay, but like I said, I know it's not on topic, but if you don't have the time for it, like I said, you did say you're going to do another broadcast and basically figure out that right number. And if you
well, I said it's going to be down to the exact number. I said 3,900,000,000 and some odd. You know, where like I said, we're closer to going into 4 billion years. So.
Well, yeah, because you said less than 40 years from now. At first
Yeah.
on that broadcast, you said less than 40 years. So I did the calculation, basically, with that number out of the 9 cycles. You know, like 18, 27, 36, and I used that calculation, and I found out the exact year that we in now off of that calculation. And then I also got like I said, basically the year 2050, basically 2054. I got that'll be the year of the start of the 4 billion mark of the Earth, or the 4th dimension, the start of that through the calculation.
No, incorrect.
That's not right.
It would be
Okay, cool.
It would be after the four. It would be after, or a little bit near 2076. It would start with the fall of this society because America is not going to see. I knew it would be 2000 because 2076, 7 and 6 equals 13 and whatnot. So it will be with the fall of this society because America is not going to see 300 years. It's not going to see it.
Okay, that's my fault. Okay.
It would be about the time the 4 billionth year would be about the time of what they're calling 2076 or around that time. That would be the 4 billionth year.
Okay. All right. Well,
it would
like
be,
I said,
that would correlate with the fall of America.
Cool.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, my fault. I just wanted to share that tonight. Like I said, this is my first time calling, and about that membership, I am joining. Like I said, I'm 19, and I did get a call from Minjaz. And like I said, when I'm 20 in June, I'll definitely be joining in. But like I said, this is my first time calling in, and that's basically my question. But I just basically tuned in as well. I just got off the job, whatever. But I know it's about the spiritual realm or whatever the case may be. But I'm gonna listen more in, and if I got any more questions about the exact topic, I'll call back in.
All right, brother.
All right, brother. Bye.
One more. 205.
How you doing, Nuba?
How you doing?
I'm all right. I wanted to ask a question about the like you said, the spiritual possessions or whatever taking over the body. I had my cousin was into black magic, and his mama was really a holy person. They always went to church and this, that, and the third. And the end of 2015 in December, she went to church, and when she came home, my cousin had blew his brains out, committed suicide. So I wanted to know what you think about that.
He got possessed. He got possessed. He opened himself up to the wrong energies because that's all that black magic is. They open themselves up to the spirit realm in which not to make themselves open vessels, because when they do all kinds of things like seances and stuff like that, they're trying to tap into the spiritual side of the physical realm, which again is on this side. So when they're trying to tap into that, there's no telling who's going to jump into them. You know, so a serial killer might jump into them, some malevolent being who might, jump into them and kill them and then jump right back out. So that's what it sounded like happened to him.
Yeah,
he called in the wrong spiritual energy that took him out.
Yeah, he totally changed as a person. He was walking down the highway 10, 12 miles away from home in 12-degree weather while he's snoring and all of that. He wouldn't get in the car. He wouldn't take a ride, nothing.
No, he was possessed. They do things like that. They'll do anything when they possess like that. When them spirit energies take over their body, they possess. They vessels. They open vessels. They're to be possessed, inhabited, and they can make them do just about anything. I'm
Well,
gonna say
that's
a
all I
lot of those
wanted.
a lot of these so-called homosexuals, these trannies, and one of these ones who want to get they penises chopped off or vagina. Those people got heavy spiritual demons on them. Because anything that make you jump in your body, so you want to cut your penis off and put breast on you, or just write all over yourself, tattoo yourself up. Like I said, that came from the so-called white man, with all of these rituals that are really being performed in this music and whatnot. That's opening up this young generation. This trap music is really opening up this young generation to spiritual demons. That trap music is one of the open tones that's being used to open them up to for demonic possession. All right,
Well, thank you. That's all I wanted.
all right, bro. All right. I'll play a little bit of music. That's why I say you got to be careful of what kind of music you listening to. You have to be careful of what you're allowing your children to listen to. That trap music is really nothing but demonic music. It's demonically possessed music. The tones of it is in a cadence like marching and whatnot. If you listen to it, so they're being programmed and they're being toned by that tone to open up his vessels so that those demonic energies can come in. That's why if you notice, your kids want to walk around with them nasty dreads all over their head and whatnot, tattooing themselves all up, writing all over just piercing themselves and whatnot. They doing these things because they demonically possessed, and that music has opened them up for possession. You know, they start listening to this stuff. They jumping all around. If you ever notice, they dance and they don't even dance no more. They just jump all around like they possessed. You know what I mean? They in the village jumping around and whatnot. It's not even dancing anymore. And then that's not even music. You don't even know what it is they're listening to. But who programmed it for them? The so-called white man, the beast. He programmed that for them. You understand? That's why they doing that. They ain't, when all of a sudden they start making music like that, or with that's what they call music. Why all of a sudden they want to produce stuff like this? They won't produce the traditional music, the rap music that sound halfway decent and sound like music. They producing this trap music because it's really used to entrap your children to be open vessels for this demonic possession. That's what it's being used for. This is nothing but demon music. You understand? This trap music is nothing but straight up demon possessed spirit music. That's exactly what it is. We're back. You have to be mindful of this spiritual possession. Right? You must be mindful of it. Continuously mindful of it. You must be continually mindful of where you allow yourself to be and how you are connected to this connection and this spiritual possession. Again, you must be mindful about who you encounter and who you connect with, because you got those who make themselves open vessels for demonic and spiritual possession. Right? The people who are in the churches, the people who are in the clubs, the people who are in these satanic rituals, because all these religions are nothing but low-level Luciferian movements. The church, the mosques, the temples, the synagogues, they're nothing but a bunch of low-level Luciferian, spiritually possessed uh, um, movements. This is why, if you notice, they refer to God as a spirit. How do they refer to God in religion? As a spirit. God is a spirit in religion. So then they'll say the devil is a spirit too. Spirits do. Spirits inhabit people. The same God, the spirit that they call in God, is a devil. Lucifer, God, is the same devil. It's a spirit that inhabits them, that takes over them. When those people pass on in the physical realm and go on the other side of the spiritual realm, they become spirit energies of Lucifer or Satan or that God that they say is in the spirit realm. They become open. They become energy output for those beings in the spirit realm, right? And they are dispatched into the physical realm to take possession of those physical entities and those physical beings in the three-dimensional world. They are dispatched. You have to be on a low level mentally to receive that spiritual energy. Like in that movie Get Out, brother was telling me, and I said this before, that movie Get Out was letting you know that. They just used the whole analogy of taking out the brain, right? Taking out the brain and allowing the people, they put in the brain, they were saying they put in the brains of those people, those dead people, those white people, those Asian people in the bodies of black people. They just used the brain as an analogy for spiritual energy. See, he didn't want to say spiritual energy because that would have been over too many people's heads. So they just used brain, right? They used the brain. And I heard the Israelites say that, when you talking about when we talk about the spirit, we really mean the intelligence, the mind, the thought. So that's really in unison with what I'm saying, that these people are inhabited by way of the mind because the spirit enters through the top of the brain, right? The spirit enters through the top of the head, right? The crown seat. That's where the spirit enters in at. The soft part when you're a baby, on the soft part of your head, that spot is always still a little soft at the top. The softest spot at the top of your head, even though it's not as soft as when you were a child, that soft spot on the top of your head is where they enter in at. They enter into your crown seat. They enter into your crown seat, and they take hold of your body. And they do what they want. They sit up here, they get angry, they get jealous, they get possessed. So you have to be mindful not to get angry, jealous, and obsessed with anybody. You have to be mindful not to be that way. Because when you do that, you open yourself up for a spiritual possession. You open yourself up for that. What is they say they God say in the Bible? I am a jealous God, have no God, no other God before me. Now, if their God is supposed to be the Most High, how is there any other God that they're talking about? If that God in the Bible is the only God, the Most High, and that God knows He is the Most High, supposedly, and that's the same God in the Bible, how is He saying have no other God before me? There should be no other God if that's the Most High. But what you're dealing with is a spiritual energy. You're dealing with a spiritual energy that is jealous, that is envious, that is looking to possess others. That's what you're dealing with. You understand? That's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a spiritual entity. Their God is a spiritual being. Because the place they're looking to go to, that world that they're looking to go to, the spiritual world or the spirit world, is a part of this physical world. It is part of this physical world. You have the physical world in the 3-dimension, and on the other side of the 3-dimensional world, you have the spiritual world. They just go on to the other side. That's why they say you go on to the other side. You passed on. They went to the other side. What do you think the other side is? The spiritual world is the other side of the physical world. It is the physical side. It's the spiritual side, the lunar side, the lunar-based, water-based side of the physical world. That is. And they go there, right, so they can get charged up, and then they come back and forth. They can come back and forth. When they're able to come out of the body, they go back into the spiritual world. And then they go and look for another body. And they take that body, and then they go back in the spiritual world. Then they go back and take another body, and they go back in the spiritual world again. That's how they do. They come out, right? It's the equivalent of, how can I say, like you go home in the daytime, and you got your night job, which is going into somebody's body into the dark world, or going into the physical world, right? And you got that's your night job. You going into dark matter, into the physical world to inhabit somebody's body. And then after you finish doing that work, then you go back into the light. You go back into the light. You go back into the spiritual side of things, into the spiritual realm. Right? You go back in. You put that work in the dark world, as dark matter, as physical matter inhabiting somebody's body, somebody's vessel, and then you go back out. Right? You do have some people that would be considered, good, who are trapped in the spiritual realm, right? But they wasn't useful enough, or they weren't powerful enough to make it onto the solar world. So you got good and bad entities in the spiritual realm. I don't want to make it seem like it's one sided. You got good, benevolent. You got benevolent spirits that are trapped in the three-dimensional world, and you got malevolent spirits that are trapped in the three-dimensional world. And you got both. The benevolent ones are the ones who are usually family members who didn't want to leave. They just wanted to be here and be watching over you. They wanted to constantly stay around and whatnot, and be around and whatnot. And they were just so linked into this side that they would, be hanging around and hovering around the family. They might be the ones that might protect you from something that's bad that's going to take place, right? They might be the one that's going to protect you from that. They might be the ones that try to steer you in the right direction. You don't know who that is. So, you do got benevolent spirits, and you got malevolent spirits. I don't want to make it seem like it's a bad thing. But for those who want true power and want to move on, they become those solar beings. They become those judges in the next realm. You understand that? Just like you got good people here, you got bad people here, you got good people in the spiritual realm, you got bad people. It's the same thing on both sides. You know, but ultimately, it's not about good and bad when you're dealing with the Most High, when you're dealing with the Creator. You're a living soul. It's about judgment, because the Most High is choosing the elect to be the living souls of judgment. That's what the Most High is choosing them for. So we're not interested in being good spirits or bad spirits. We're interested in being solar judges, those of judgment. That's what we're interested in. We're interested in being those of solar judgment and solar power. That's what we're interested in. If that's not the interest of those in this realm, then we're not interested in dealing with them. Simple as that. It's all about that power, right? It's all about that power. It's all about that continuation. And then that's what it's about. So, when they say let us make man, that's clones. Somebody asked that, what about let us make man? Those are clones. Let us make man in our image and after our likeness. Those are clones. That's not even the creation yet. Somebody asked that. All right. So we have to be mindful not to get trapped up in that. All right. Let me take a call. 919.
Greetings, Newman.
Greetings.
I'm calling because I would like to know, for example, when someone transitions and they pass away and you do dream about them, does that mean that they have evolved beyond this realm, or does it mean that they are trapped in this realm? What's your take on that?
It depends on what they did when they was here. What you do while you here is based on where you're gonna go. There's no such thing as, oh, I did this, I was a killer, I was a robber, I was a thief, but then at the end I say I'm sorry to God, I could go to heaven, and I don't, and whatever. It don't work like that. It don't matter. You either gonna be one or two things. If you pass on and you did all those negative things, you're gonna be trapped in this realm. You're gonna be trapped in this three-dimensional realm. That's it. And you're only gonna go into people who are on your level. So if you have you're only going to be assigned, or you're going to be magnetically attracted to those who are on that negative vibration, like you was. Like, for example, if you were a loose woman, or you were a prostitute, whatever you was before you passed on, when you come back in the spiritual world, all you're going to be attracted to is going into the body of loose women. and you're gonna feel that same sensation of being that loose woman that you was in the spiritual realm as well as in the physical realm. You're gonna constantly go into the body of loose women.
Okay. My grandfather, he lived to be 100 years old. He wasn't sick, and he was a farmer. And he just got tired of sitting around the house, he said, because he wasn't able to work anymore. Like about 75 years old, he had stopped going to the farm. However, one morning, he got up and he took care of himself because he was still independent. So he took care of himself, and then he said, "I'm going home." My mother said, "Well, Papa, you are home." He said, "No, this is not my home." So then, after taking care of himself, he lie down and he started. Well, he checked some things and set some things in order, and expressed himself about some things that he thought were out of order, and that they were supposed to be corrected. And then he lie down and said, "Well, now my feet are getting heavy, and now it's moving up to my legs, and then it's moving up to my chest." And then he passed away with a smile on his face. So, I've
He
had
went
like
into
several.
he became a judge. I could listen to what you describe, and he didn't go into the spirit realm. He went into the solar state. I can listen and tell, because that's the clear sign of those who are solar beings versus those who are spiritual. He made sure he had things in order, because that's a sign of a solar being. Like you say, he checked things off and whatnot. I'm pretty sure he left his estate and all the things he wanted to do in order, right?
Yes, he did. And what's
Yeah, I know.
interesting is, um, wow. So then years later, my grandmother passed away. But an African man told me, one day I was talking about my grandfather, and he said, your grandfather is in a very high place. And I said, "Why did you say that?" He said, "Because your grandfather was a god." And then he said, he wow, this is incredible. But anyways,
He's a
so
judge.
I went to
He
my
became
grandfather. I mean, I went.
he's a supreme. He's one of the supreme beings that's working in unison with the judgment of the judges. He's a judge because
Wow,
when he lived his life as a disciplined man, he got to
yes,
check out the way he wanted to check out. So he went
he
into it
did.
judgment. Yeah, yeah, I know.
And then at his funeral, people were like, "Oh my God, this man is not dead. This man looks like he's sleeping because he had that smile still on his face." And I was just so amazed. I mean, oh my goodness. But anyways, so I have dreams of him. But what's interesting is that later on, I had my grandmother passed away, so I went to Jamaica, so to the funeral, and so I was at what they call the porch here. We call it the veranda. So in Jamaica, they don't celebrate like they celebrate for 9 days. The person who passed away, they like have a party every night for 9 days, and I think it's called a 9 nights, where people don't really sleep. People stay up 24 hours for 9 days. And so, at the Saturday night was like the real party now for the soul that passes on. And so that's the night that the drummers come, that everybody dance and stuff like that. And that's the night when you're not supposed to cry. You're supposed to party and have a good time. So anyways, when that happened for my grandmother, I was on the veranda, and it was like at 6:30 in the morning, and I looked up in the sky, and I saw this bright light, and I said, "Oh my God!" To myself, I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my God! I've never seen a plane that just stood still in the sky like that. Planes are usually always moving in motion. This is my first time looking at a plane that was just standing still." And then I started really looking to see if it was a plane. Oh my goodness. It was not a plane. It was what they called a USO. So I was telling this man about it and he said, Your grandfather your grandfather was on it.
He was. He was. The almond being took him. They took him. That's how they
Oh
do.
my goodness.
This is how they do. They take those who are in order here, who they consider to be the best in order, because they can always use them in other solar systems. So they took him as a judge. They took him into the bright light, not the light, but the brighter state and whatnot, and they brought him forward as a judge. That's probably why he was smiling, because he came forward into such high esteem, and he was greeted in high esteem because he was a man of law and order and judgment, and so they
Yes.
greeted him as such.
Wow.
Now
He
these
was a
people who are
great
in chaos,
soul.
now these people who are here, who are in a state of chaos and confusion, who causing chaos and confusion, they're going to be locked down here in the three-dimensional realm.
That's incredible. So, wow, that's amazing because people are like, this man is not dead. But what was also interesting is that they didn't put him in the ground like his physical apparatus. They didn't bury him underground. They built like a vault. They built like a vault and they pushed the coffin into it. I don't know whose idea it was, if it was his idea, but when I did land in Jamaica, I thought, well, I was looking for them to like be putting into the ground, but no, they built like a vault and they pushed his coffin into it. And so, what was
That's
interesting
that's
was that they
that's
had
how they
people,
actually.
Bob
That's
Marley's
how you.
family, my grandfather,
That's let me say that's how you bury people of honor, persons of honor. You don't put them in the ground and you don't burn their bodies. That's why we say in the Republic of Mentellect, we as Mentellian Ammonites, we do not burn or bury bodies. We look at all of our persons in the Republic of Mentellect, the Mentellians, as honor, those who are of the Lord. So we put in vaults, we put our bodies in vaults and in mausoleums. We never burn or bury our bodies. That is
yes,
what common people do. So he was
yes, and
honored.
then
He was honored.
wow, he certainly was. Because when I saw people from Bob Marley's family, because I was young growing up in Jamaica with my granddad, and so when I saw people from Bob Marley's place, and then when I went to visit like the Bob Marley's museum, there were people who were like, "That was your grandfather," and I said, "How do you know?" They were like, we were at the funeral. We saw you. That's how we recognized you." And I was just like, wow, my grandfather was so well known, and I didn't know that. But I then as an adult, I realized why they called him Soji. He was a soldier. So people always call him Soji. And so it was like when I became an older an older teenager, then I realized that my grandfather's real name was Christy. So they call him Sir Chris. And so, I was like, wow, when I met this African man whose parents lived to be like 114 years old, 120. I think his mother was 128 years old when she transitioned. Then he started telling me that your grandfather was a god. He's in a high place. So this is just a confirmation. Thank you for taking the call. And then in addition to that, I learned a lot of the ways that I lived from him because he was never sick. He still had his mental faculties and his mental capacity. Even at 98 years old, when I visited Jamaica and I saw him the last time, we sat, we talked, and then he always joked with me about what is the business. I'm like, Papa, business? What are you talking about? What's the business? But he always was so current. He kept up with current information. He was a man that read. He never went to the doctors, and he was never sick. However, he always did one thing that I loved about him, and to this day that I'm still doing. He said the heart, it loves bitters. He said the sweet, when you give it to the heart, it's not good. You have to give the heart bitters first thing in the morning. And so I wondered if that was a part of his longevity. And so after he passed away, I was like so sad because I missed him so much because he was like my dad, my real dad. So I went into a depression, And I used to sleep a lot because I was like so depressed from my granddad. At that time, I was in college, so I was depressed going to school, just getting up for classes and then just sleeping away. So one day I heard his voice. It was so clear as day. Told me to get up. I got up. And then when I got up, I looked out the window and I had in front of my yard, I had a lawn. And he said to go out and plant. So I went to Home Depot. I rented a tiller, and I started digging up the yard. I know my neighbors were looking at me like, what is wrong with her? But I dug up the yard, half of the yard. I dug it up, and then I went to Home Depot, returned the tiller, bought about $80 worth of flowers, and then planted the flowers in the garden. And then I used to just weed the garden out, and it was like so soothing. It was like that my grandfather's soul was telling me, and this is how you keep the weed out, and this is how you do your mind. This is how you cultivate your mind. Always pulling the weeds out. When you see them coming up, just pull them out, and then keep it beautiful. So one day I pulled up, and this man was taking a picture of my garden, and I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm going to make my wife a garden. Like, this is the most beautiful yard on the street." And so I just wanted to share that. And my grandfather.
Thank you, sister. Thank you very much. It was a beautiful story. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you so much. Honor your grandfather by following what he did and putting your life in order. Thank you, sister.
Thank you. I'm doing it. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye bye. All right. One more. Well, I want to play something short. I want to play something just a little short. We'll be right back. And we're back. Many people have converted themselves over from soul energy to spirit energy. How do you know who the solar energy will be is based on how you live your life here in the physical realm, and who will be the spiritual energy, who will be trapped into the 3 dimension, who will move on to the 4th and beyond, right? Who will be in rulership based on how you live your life. Do you live your life in order? Do you live your life by a code of conduct? Or do you live your life based on chaos and confusion? Do you live your life based on law and order? That's what's going to determine whether you're going to go forward as a solar being, or do you live your life in a state of chaos and confusion, which will lock you into the 3 dimensional realm of people, place, and possession, and you will be nothing but an angry spirit here. Will you be trapped in by physical possessions? Will you be out here robbing, raping, stealing, killing, selling your body, sleeping with this one and that one, being homosexuals, lesbians, and all kinds of degenerate things that are locked into people, places, and possessions? That's what will determine whether you will be locked here as a spiritual being in the spiritual realm, or whether you will travel forward as one of law and order, whether you will travel forward as a solar being and come forward in rulership as a solar being, as a judge. That's what determines it. You understand? Don't matter. It's not about, oh, you just good, you bad, you good, you bad, you good, you bad. Because like I said, you got good people that's locked into the spiritual realm. You understand? And they here sharing the same space with bad people. Same way in the physical world, you got good and bad people. But to be that judgmental and supreme person, one who is of order, you have to have proper discernment, and you have to live your life by a code of conduct and law and order to be that solar being, or that one who's going to that solar state. If that's not what you're living your life by, then you're not going to go there. It sounds like that's what the lady's grandfather was living. He lived his life as a solar being. He lived in a certain way of law and order, and he kept law and order in his life. And he didn't live a chaotic life. He lived a life of law and order, which is why he went to the state he went to, which was a higher state of law and order as a solar being. He went into the upper dimensions and the outer dimensions, and he came forward as a judge in that supreme state. He was entrapped in this 3-dimensional world of people, place, and possession as a spiritual being. That is the hell of the spirit. The hell of the spirit is to be trapped in this world, to be under God and under the devil. That is a hell, to be under the God, which is the devil, to be locked into the spiritual realm, to only be able to inhabit living bodies that are already being utilized by other spirits, that have to come in and out and have your turn where you could come out as a spirit entity into different bodies and whatnot, because they have turns in which they take spaces. But see, when you're a solar being, you get your own regenerated body, your own regenerated image, and you will come forward looking like you did in the past. You will be regenerated again as you were in the past, based on the law and order, the life of law and order that you lived in the past. You will come forward in the future as that person of law and order, that personified being. You understand that? That's what you will come forward as. But again, if you live your life as one who was of chaos and confusion, you will come back as a spiritual being, and you won't go forward as a solar being. Right? If you had a purpose here in the past, you had a purpose for being here, a true purpose, then that purpose will always be perfecting itself. You will always be perfecting that purpose when you go into the next life. It's life after life after life. You understand? So, life after life. You know, because notice in the three-dimensional world they say life after death, right? Now wait a minute. If you were supposedly living a life, then shouldn't it be death after afterlife? And it shouldn't be death after life? See, you think they got it back? They say life after death. You should, you know what I'm saying? What is the life after death? Shouldn't it be life first that you lived and then death? Right? It should be life, right? Shouldn't it be death after life? Or should it be like the life you lived, right? Life or death, death after life, right? After the life you lived, you die, right? Or they say death, or they say the life after the death. When they say life after death, that means that you've been living an existence of death in the three-dimensional world. That's really what that means. You've been existing. When they say life after death, that means death came before life. That's what they mean. That means you was living a dead state of existence in the three-dimensional world, in the physical world. Because as I said before, you got people who are walking dead right here in this physical world, and when they die, they go into the light, right, and they become spirits. They become spirits, and then they come back into physical form. They inhabit these dead bodies as vessels. So they jump into these dead bodies as vessels. Then when you become that life or that light in the spiritual realm, even though it's a limited light or life, you jumping into dead bodies, right? Dead physical bodies, right? That you left behind. You see just how dead they are, because you become the light or the light in their life. You become that light that lights up their dead bodies. That's why we say the elect go life after life, because even in this dead state of the three-dimensional, we are living souls. And we're going to go life after life after life after life. There's no death for us. There's only transition. What you call death is transition to us. It's transition, because we going right into the next life. We going right from this life into the next life. We just jumping out of bodies, and we getting prepared. Our soul is going into the next body. We just leaving the old car behind and getting in the new car. That's transition. But death for you all in the spiritual realm is the so-called life that you live in, the existence that you live in right now. That's death, because you don't have no direction. You have no law. Everything is chaos. And then you go into the light, and you get spiritually possessed. But that's it. Join me Wednesday night for the next MENTELLECT radio broadcast. Let me read these questions real quick. What is spiritual? The spiritual realm is the physical realm here, the other side of the physical realm. Is it above the physical realm? No, it is on the other side. Do people go to the spiritual realm when they die? Yes, they do. Those who are in the three-dimensional state, who are trapped in it. Where is the spiritual realm? The spiritual realm is on the other side of the physical realm, in the three-dimensional state, right here. What is the solar realm? The solar realm is the fourth dimension and above. The spiritual realm is on the three dimension physical. And that's it. I answered those questions. Join me Wednesday night for the next Mentellect Radio broadcast. I am the intellectual Nuben Menkares. This has been Mentellect Radio. Good night.
Rising out the black race to the white race, out the black race to the white race. It's the Republic of Mentellect. Black race to the white race. If it's hell, I'm and then it's hell us. They tried everything just to spell us. Fed us religion, gave us fake gods. Through all of that, we beat the odds. Now we coming together under one flag. Colors red, gold, and blue. Superman, Superwoman, that's me and you. The infinite capabilities that